Okay, stop whatever you are doing. Something huge is coming for Tesla stock. Do you remember last Friday? Nothing spectacular happened on Friday. It was a normal day for Tesla stock. And you had $1 billion that traded hands in the options market for Tesla specifically. Do you remember the day of Tesla earnings, in which Elon Musk made all those negative comments on the Cybertruck? You had $7 billion worth of option activity for that day. That is the largest day that I have seen in a very long time for Tesla. Before today, guess what the number is today? I report this every single day, so you guys should be very familiar with this. It's not a new concept. Well, the number today is $300 billion worth of option orders. A magnitude of 30 times the highest number I've ever seen for Tesla stock. Let's take a look at this positioning. Is it bullish? Is it bearish? What do you need to know? Heading into Nvidia earnings, which are also tomorrow. I did make a trade on Nvidia earnings. If you guys would like to check that out and come trade with us, link down below in the description of this video. But is Nvidia going to be negative or positive for our markets? Today, you just hit a new high for our markets in almost 2 years. Does this continue higher? Well, we'll talk about it here in this video. Tesla stock seeing a sharp reversal towards the end of the day. Why? We have a lot to get into in a very short amount of time. Hit that like button. Most importantly, subscribe to the channel if you guys want to push this video out to as many people as possible. The algorithm, for whatever reason, no longer responds to likes or comments on the video nearly as much as subscribers. So the more subscribers, the more views, the more information gets pushed out to as many people as possible. And I think you guys ultimately want to help your fellow Tesla stock investors. Nonetheless, I've done enough rambling so far. Let's go ahead and get into it. This entire video is important, and I don't think you should just watch one part of it. You really need to watch the entire video to get the full scope of what's going on here with Tesla. And obviously, I'll share my opinions and perspectives along the way. But if I were to boil it down, this is definitely the most important thing that you need to know. It's this option activity today. Someone is betting big on Tesla stock. So just for a little bit of context, I look at these numbers every day. I report these numbers to you every single day. But even long before I ever made a video on Tesla stock and uploaded it to YouTube, I've always looked at these numbers. I've had Ortex for years. The highest number I've ever seen for Tesla was around $11 billion on any given day. And that's pretty substantial. At the time it was $11 billion, Tesla's market cap was like $200 billion. Maybe 250, 300 billion, something along those lines. So that was a big amount. But on a percentage basis, that was like, what, 10% of the entire market cap? Today, this is almost 50% of Tesla's entire market cap trading hands in option activity today. I've never seen anything like this. This is 30 times higher than any number I've ever seen. So nobody else has ever seen this before. This is brand new. Now, it's very particular because Tesla stock had this negative, false, outright false, and a lie of a report from Jefferies today. It's hard to exactly understand why this is happening, but that also, happened today. Tesla stock did see a rebound. We have some news to go over, but Nvidia also reports earnings tomorrow, and that could be important here. So what you're looking at right now is filtering out all of the trades we've seen today. There was a couple hundred different trades that comprise this $300 billion of option activity today. But some of the largest trades today are just off the walls. Let's be real here. It is very rare to see $1 billion trade alone. On Friday, the entire day's worth of option activity for hedge funds and institutions was $1 billion. We went over that on Friday. We can look at that here in just a second. But take a look at these orders. The largest trade today, the largest one, was a December 8th 280 call worth $7.85 billion. $7.85 billion is a lot of money. Most hedge funds don't even manage that much money. Like, this was a big dog, not a small fry, a big dog that made this trade today. Now, what really sticks out to me about some of these trades is they're not even in the money, right? 280 is far out the money for December 8th. Far out the money. That means that someone is betting that Tesla stock reaches 280 over the next 3 weeks or so. We do have the Cybertruck that launches on November 30th. But this doesn't make sense to me. There could be something big coming that we don't know about. It could be a licensing deal of FSD. That is the only thing that makes sense to me that could send Tesla stock over 280. And let's factor in the break even here. They spent $3,630 for each of these contracts. That means their break even is about $316 per share in the next 3 weeks. That's off the charts. And you know what happens if Tesla stock does not reach 316 within the next 3 weeks? Well, they lose part or all of this $7.85 billion. This was categorized as a block trade, which means it was a very large order. As you can see, most of these trades here are categorized as block orders. The second largest trade we've seen today was a January 19th, 2024. It's a relatively short-term trade as well. The $200 put worth $3.96 billion. You have another identical trade as well. It wouldn't surprise me if this trade, that's not exactly what it looks like as well. I was going to say it wouldn't surprise me if this big trade, this almost $8 billion trade, these other two trades were hedges, but it doesn't look like that's the case. Normally, if it's a hedge trade, like a big call position versus a big put position, right? They're hedging out. It's a hedging strategy. Usually the trades come in within the same minute. And this trade came in at 9:56 in the morning today. And these other two trades came in at 10:32. That's not a hedge trade. This is what looks like a standalone, very bullish trade on Tesla stock. But then you do have those two bearish orders. Well, actually, this one's a call. January 19th, 2024 call worth $3.96 billion. And January 19th, 2024 $200 put worth $3.96 billion. So that does look like a hedge trade right there. The fourth largest trade is worth $3.57 billion. That is a 240 call expiring November 24th, literally this Friday. That break even is going to be around 278, factoring in the price they paid for these options by this Friday. 278 by this Friday. Another the exact same trade, but only worth $3.56 billion. November 24th, 240 call with a break even around 275. And then you have a couple puts here, 3 puts here worth about $3.5 billion a piece. It wouldn't surprise me if some of these very bullish call trades are being hedged out by some of these puts here. You have another November 24th, 290 call worth $3.4 billion. That's another insane one. I mean, the break even on that is like 320 by this Friday. And you're putting $3.5 billion on the line? Something is going on here. This makes no sense at all. And as you can see here on Friday, you had 1,009 orders totaling $1.02 billion. So these trades are like not even on the same scale as the entire day of Friday's option activity. Today, you had 1,264 orders, totaling $301.54 billion, with a positive order value of 51%. So the only thing that makes sense to me, the only thing I think could give you a move into the 300s by the end of this week is some kind of deal with FSD. That's my opinion. Doesn't mean for a certainty that's going to happen. Do not make any trades based on this video, based on any of the option activity we're seeing. All we see is the strike, the expiration, how many contracts they bought, what price they paid, and how much the overall trade was worth. We don't know why they're doing this. Some of these could be hedges. Some of these could be, who knows? They clicked the wrong button. You never really know. But I'm saying there's a reason for this. And this is something like I've never seen before. Nvidia will also be reporting earnings tomorrow. In conjunction with other news Tesla related, it could make sense to see a really big market reaction based on a super good report from Nvidia. Right now, there's already really high expectations for Nvidia. And if they come in line with those expectations, the stock has probably a 95% chance of falling 5 to 10%. Just coming in line with expectations. And that would be like raising guidance as well. You have to see Nvidia smash earnings in every way possible. One thing Nvidia misses on, and the stock is going to fall. At least in my personal opinion. That's what I would speculate and be willing to put my money on. And I did go ahead and buy some puts on Nvidia. Now, I have my own strategy. I'm not going to ride any of that at all heading into earnings. I just feel like you're at an all-time high. Nvidia went up 2% today. The statistical probability of Nvidia going up another 2% tomorrow is pretty low, considering anyone that's ever bought Nvidia in the history of Nvidia is up on their positions. It looks like tomorrow could be a prime day for profit takers. And plus you have your IV run-up that presumably will take place throughout the day tomorrow as well. As long as you don't see like a 5%, 10% up day, I think those contracts will make money. Potentially the goal is to flip out of those, maybe sell 9 of them. 8 of them, 7 of them, be able to hold some free puts just to see, ultimately what happens. Not a recommendation as well. If you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, come get a little bit more clarity on that. Come ask more questions. Link down below in the description of this video. But bottom line with Nvidia, we'll look at the expectations here in just a second. If Nvidia gives you the same old as what they did last quarter, the quarter before that, which is really good earnings, big raise to guidance, it's not going to be enough. Like we seen last quarter. Nvidia actually was around this price, a little bit over $500, right after they reported earnings. The day after, you opened at $502 for Nvidia, and then you gave it all back by the end of the day. By the end of the day, you barely closed positive, and you closed at $471, even though Nvidia massively raised guidance and crushed earnings. The stock still almost closed negative the next day, giving up like a 10% gain following earnings the night before. And then what happened? Nvidia kind of came back up, and then you ended up falling to lows around $400 or so. More recently, you even broke into the 390s. So Nvidia is at a very vulnerable place right now, sitting at all-time highs. The stock is technically overbought with an RSI above 70. It's not a great risk to reward heading into Nvidia's earnings. And let's be honest, if you shorted Nvidia at 400, like a lot of firms did, like even Michael Burry did, right? Famous short from the '08 housing crisis. Well, you've gotten smashed over the last 3 months. Nvidia's up 20%. It's not a good position to be in for a short. It's an optimal position to be in to take profits on Nvidia. If you do feel like, maybe you're at the top of this cycle. What tends to happen when companies have really bad streaks or really good streaks, it's more common with really bad streaks compared to really good streaks. But if a company's like really bad, like a Target, right? And that's a trade we hit 1,000% on last week with Target earnings. It was 300 into like 3,500. It was more than 1,000%. But it tends to get so bad that people say, hey, Is it going to get worse from here? And then the stock can rally 20% on mediocre earnings because people think, hey, it's not going to get worse from here. We should buy the stock. Same thing to the opposite. When a stock continuously smashes earnings, raises estimates for guidance by billions of dollars for 2 quarters in a row, which could be 3 quarters in a row, investors start to say, hey, is this the end of the good streak? Are we like at the peak of this cycle for AI and for Nvidia? I don't know, obviously, but that's why you sold off last earnings for Nvidia. That is why potentially you could sell off this earnings for Nvidia, but that's obviously not a guarantee. Now, I think this one is a little bit more of a long shot. I think it has a lot smaller likelihood than like Tesla licensing deal for FSD coming out, or Nvidia implicating Tesla in some kind of partnership, or something along those lines. I actually think this could have a slightly less likely potential possibility, but is a possibility nonetheless that could have a lot of people very bullishly positioning for this week for a huge rally into the 300s, which is just crazy I'm even saying that. You do have the FOMC minutes coming out tomorrow at 2 p.m. The minutes, it's basically like a transcript, a report of the last conference with the Fed. If you don't know this, when you get that summary of economic projections every 3 months, or you get just the Fed meeting followed by, the Fed making an action like raising rates, keeping pause, cutting rates, and then Fed Jerome Powell gets on the podium, gives you the statement or whatnot. We report on it every time it happens, usually every month and a half to 2 months. You get a Fed meeting. Well, the meeting is actually 2 days prior, the 2 days prior to the conference itself, to the actual report coming out and the Fed making an action. The FOMC minutes is basically like a transcript, a summarized transcript of what was discussed the last Fed meeting. It's possible that maybe the Fed is saying, hey, somewhere in these FOMC minutes, we should think about cutting rates. If that is actually happening, and if that did happen, that could explain how you could get a huge rally in a stock like a Tesla. Tesla's very sensitive to interest rates. That's a possibility. And maybe actually upon thinking about it and what happened at the last Fed meeting, maybe that's like an equivalent odds of like a licensing deal of FSD coming this week. It's not expected. Don't expect that. Don't trade based on that. You have long-term shares. You're good. If anything crazy happens, you're covered. You're going to make money. Don't go crazy with trade ideas or anything based on any of this. But that could happen. And that could give Tesla a big move higher. It's a possibility. You have existing home sales coming out tomorrow. You have some bond auctions as well, but nothing that would make sense to why this option activity today for Tesla was so high. As you can see, Tesla stock is continuing higher a little bit as well here in after hours, up about 0.1%. You're currently at $235.77. I predicted yesterday Tesla stock would break above 250, or at least be close to 250 by the end of this week. That's not as crazy as last week's price prediction where we expected between 240 and 250. That ultimately did play out. That did happen, but Tesla stock last week was at like the low 200s to start off the week. So you've seen a nice rally. Now, what do the charts say from here? Couple different important things to point out. The markets themselves, like the NASDAQ, is hitting a new high that you have not seen since January of 2022. So you've rallied a lot recently. I think there's so little allocation of stocks right now. There's so much capital on the sideline in money market funds, in different areas, just in bank accounts alone, in treasuries, that is going to make its way into our markets. It doesn't all happen at once, so that makes sense why you're just seeing this rally continue. You've seen 2 gap ups now in the last 3 weeks that have held those gap ups. You haven't seen any real pullbacks here. You've just continued higher, and this has been a very aggressive rally. I think markets could hit new all-time highs, and I think that could continue to drive up Tesla stock. Tesla stock, to some degree, probably needs to catch up to what the broader markets have done. Tesla's still down 45% plus from all-time highs. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, considering Tesla is probably in the best shape to benefit from rates going lower in 2024. Nonetheless, if you break out above your 50-day moving average at 240, or $239.28 today, so like $4 away almost exactly, technically almost $3 away now, then you can make a clear move to your 100-day moving average, in my personal opinion, probably in the same day, to about $247.97. If you break above 250, really around 251 in that area, you're going to break above your longer-term downtrending line of resistance. Or I guess this is the shorter term one. Then you could jump way higher than that. That's where you get into this no man's land territory, to that upside move, where you could see explosive rallies. Short sellers could get whacked if Tesla stock breaks above 250 this week or even next week. Tesla's RSI is right at about 55. So you're not even really close to being overbought, and that just helps solidify the fact that Tesla could rally big time from here before you do have some of these negative technical indicators flashing red warning signs. New short interest data is coming out as well today. Tesla continues to be by far the most shorted stock in our markets, so at this point you're very vulnerable here for good news. If good news comes out and it's really good, Tesla stock is not priced for good news. That's bullish. Any good news is going to be like extremely good news at this point, especially considering Jeffrey's report that was just a flat out lie that came out today, literally saying Tesla should cancel the Cybertruck. That would be good for Tesla shares. I literally lose brain cells every time I listen to any of these reports. Like seriously, I feel like I literally lose brain cells every time I read a bear's report on Tesla. It makes no sense at all. I feel even dumber after reading it. Nonetheless, you have a short interest of free flow at 3%, $19.09 billion currently sold short in Tesla stock. For context here, the entire short position in all stocks put together is $952 billion. Tesla's $19 billion of that alone. About 2.5%, roughly. That's a lot. That's no other stock looks anywhere close to that. So important to keep in mind. Days to cover 0.68, 81.47 million shares currently sold short. You still do have 30.26 million shares out on loan as well. So you could continue to see more shares actually get sold short from here. And that's my bad, guys. I didn't realize how dark it got here in this video. Yeah, it definitely eclipsed some time and the sun obviously went down, so we had to go ahead and turn on the lights. But I do want to point out, before we end this video, I don't think Nvidia earnings, whether they are really good or really bad, or Nvidia goes up 20% or drops 20%, that it really matters for broader markets to a certain point. Of course, it's going to be important. It will cause a movement for broader markets, but it's not the same level of event as it was over the summertime. Nvidia really kickstarted the broader market rally in May when they reported that first earnings that showed Nvidia seeing AI revenue today. And then anything that was remotely related to AI started doing very, very well. And that's what took the markets higher in July. Right now, the markets are not going higher based on AI. If anyone tells you that, they're delusional at this point. Markets are going higher because of rates. Yields coming down on the 10-year treasury, but also the market's starting to price in rate cuts. There's a 5% probability the Fed cuts rates in December of this year. That's why markets are going higher. The markets are now pricing in a 30+%, around 35% chance we get the first rate cut in March, but the first rate cut is priced in for May, and we're expecting between 3 and 4 rate cuts. There's a chance we get 5 or 6 rate cuts in 2024. The more the better for stocks, as long as it doesn't come with a recession. So I don't think it's as important if Nvidia flops earnings. It doesn't have to be this big crash event because there's so many other good things going on at the same time. So I want to give you guys that as well before we go ahead and wrap up this video. Let me know what you guys think about this option activity here today in Tesla stock. I think it's pretty you almost can't like even try to explain it because it's so crazy high. But I would love to hear your opinions. I would love to know what you guys think if we maybe collectively with thousands of minds can with a reasonable degree figure this one out. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. If you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, come get active in the discussion over there. Come see all of the trades that I make every single day. Come talk to us. Come get involved in a community much bigger than just one person. Check out that link down below in the description of this video. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. My name is Michael Tyler, and I will see you in the next one.